All right, good morning, everyone. Let me try that again. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to our homecoming Crown Forum, where we celebrate this college and its outstanding legacy. Indeed, God is good and all the time. I said, God is good and all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will follow your program as printed. I present to you first Mr. Jarvis J. Gray, the junior class president, for our opening prayer.
Please assume the posture of prayer. God, we come to you with thanksgiving in our heart. We thank you for being a shelter in the time of storm, a way when there was no way, and a constant stronghold. Lord, we thank you for the light. We know that you are the light of the world, and 145 years ago, you kindled a light in a time of darkness. God, not only did you kindle the light of our dear old Morehouse, but you illuminated the world and gave us favor wherever we go. God, keep us strong and resilient. Shield us from the veil of ignorance that says our institution will not survive these minor setbacks due to declining enrollment and the economy. We know that through you, all things are possible. In your word, it says, if God is for us, who can be against us? In this time of transition to new leadership at Morehouse, we pray that you remind us that though men have plans, only God's plans prevail. God, we pray for vision that will lead us further down the path that you've set out for us. Oh God, we know that life and death lies in the power of the tongue. So today, as they did in the day of the Pentecost, we want to create a sound full of your glory, a sound that will ring through our local, state, and national governments, a sound that will impact our troubled communities where our brothers and sisters are murdering each other more in 1 year than our near-decade war in Iraq and Afghanistan, a sound that will pierce the heart of the enemy. God, we pray that you keep your arms wrapped around us as we approach this homecoming weekend. Keep us safe, and despite other influences, sustain us under your influence. Now, God, dwell in this community of brothers. Help us to walk in unity in this journey of hope into the land of promise and destiny. God, you have clothed our hearts with the spirit of love, woven together with the threads of truth and light we call our dear Mother Morehouse. Now with that spirit, we ask God, prepare us, empower us, propel the class of 2013, excel the class of 2014, increase the competence level of the class of 2015, and raise the treble of the voices of the class of 2016 so that they too may create the sound of life, victory, and success. God bless and keep us. Amen.
Thank you, President Gray. Folks, at this time, homecoming. Obviously, we want to celebrate some very special people. And so in quick succession, we will have the introduction of Ms. Maroon and White in the court by Mr. Michael J. Daniels Fleming. And so when I say more, you say house. More, 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 more. Thank you.
Good morning. This year I have the honor and privilege of introducing this year's 2012-2013 Miss Maroon and White in her court. While this position may seem one of all beauty and glamour, I can assure you that these ladies have committed their lives to the betterment of Morehouse College. Please join me in welcoming a very warm welcome, Miss Second Attendant, Miss Sydney Williams, First Attendant, First attendant, Ms. Taylor Hawkins. And in 2012-2013, Ms. Maroon White. And newly crowned Ms. HBCU Hall of Fame, Ms. Jackie Matthews. Thank you, ladies.
Good morning, brother. My name is Ivan Gaskin, I'm freshman class president. Today it is my honor to be able to recognize a very special group of individuals, men of character and strength. These men put their very bodies on the line in effort to protect this house, spending countless hours perfecting their skill and preparing for the battle. Through the blood and the sweat, they fight, day in and day out, for one reason. It's out of love, y'all. Love for the game, love for the team, and love for you all. So let's show some love and give it up for the athletes of Morehouse. Come on, y'all. Let's start this thing off by honoring the team that underwent a 20-year hiatus, only to come back and appear in the SIAC tournament 5 times, making it to the conference semifinals most recently in 2009. With that, will the baseball team please stand and be recognized? Our next team is the only SIAC team to make the NCAA Division II Final Four. The Morehouse basketball team has also won 4 regular season SIAC titles and 2 SIAC tournaments, not to mention 6 appearances in the NCAA Division II tournament. With that, will the basketball team please stand and be recognized? Our next team is relatively new to the SIAC. However, they have already proven that they have what it takes. Since 2005, the Morehouse golf team has won 3 titles and 3 times and been a runner-up once. They also have had 20 golfers on the all-conference team and 3 MVPs. Will the Morehouse golf team please stand and be recognized? Up next, we have a team whose accomplishments speak for themselves. This team has won a total of 29 SIAC championships, with 21 of these being consecutive, from the year 1982 to 2002. Will the tennis team please stand and be recognized? This next team's coach has been named Coach of the Year 19 times, and the team has won 18 out of the last 19 SIAC championships. Will the cross-country team please stand and be recognized? Our next unit is that of the track and field competitors. This program has managed to produce the most SIAC track championships in history. They have an astonishing 18 titles, with the last 7 of these being consecutive. Will the track and field athletes please stand and be recognized? Now last, but most certainly not least, we have a group of competitors who turned their entire program around. In recent history, these brothers have been serious competitors. They have a record of 38-21 since 2007, and not to mention their first NCAA Division II national playoff appearance in school history. So without further ado, will the Morehouse football team please stand and be recognized? They will be competing against Fort Valley State on Saturday, so please come out and show your support. One more time, will all the student athletes, coaches, faculty in the athletic department please stand and be recognized? Come on, y'all, give it up. With that, all I have to say is continue to have a safe homecoming week, be blessed, and go Tigers. All right.
Good morning. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to introduce the individuals who participate in leading, guiding, advising, counseling, lifting up the men of Morehouse through the athletic program. My first honor is to introduce and to bring up would be the AD, Mr. Andre Patillo, who has worked at Morehouse since 1979. He has worked from 1979 to 85 as the assistant director or assistant coach of football. And then from 85 on, he worked in the admissions office, moving up to director of admissions. And then in 2000, July of 2000, he became the athletic director here at Morehouse College. So let us recognize and give thanks to Mr. Andre Patillo. Could you stand again, Mr. Patillo? Okay, just. The next individual that we have that we want to recognize and to thank for his leadership and guidance, and that is definitely to acknowledge the strong competitive nature that he has tried to instill in the basketball team, and that is our coach, Grady Brewer. You've already heard about the athletic program that we have as far as, and I want you to definitely acknowledge these individuals because these individuals give of their time, their energy, and their commitment. And it is not necessarily that they get paid the greatest salaries, but it is the commitment that they have to you, to their players, in building character and building teamwork. And the individual that we would want to recognize right now is Coach Freeman. Coach Freeman? And will the assistant coaches please stand as well? Thank you, Jim. If we look further and we heard about the winning teams that we have across this institution, and definitely lifting up the individuals that have done exceptionally well in building character and building lives and definitely moving us forward, we would want to acknowledge the hard work, the dedication that we have from all of our coaches. But in particular, let us acknowledge, too, Mr. Terry Alexander, the coach of the tennis team here, as well as Director of Intramurals and Recreation. Mr. Alexander? We also have the head cross-country and track and field coach. If we could acknowledge him, we've heard about the dedication to winning seasons. So if he could stand up, Mr. Willie Hill, the head coach of our track and cross-country. Our head golf coach, Mr. William Lewis, the Maroon Tigers, fourth at the PGA Minority Collegiate Tournament, as well as third in the National Golf Championship. Let us recognize Mr. William Lewis. Mr. Lewis. Our head baseball coach, Mr. Robert Mitchell. The Tigers won the conference in 2011. Let us acknowledge him for his hard work and dedication as well. Last but not least, let us also recognize Mrs. Mia A. Welsh, the head cheerleading coach. And I would ask all of the student body, as well as faculty and staff, to make sure that you support your peers, make sure that you support individuals that are giving of their time, that are trying to balance their education and excellence in academics with excellence on the playing field. So let us just all stand up and acknowledge our athletes. Will the people in the audience stand and give? Thank you.
At this time, it is indeed my pleasure to introduce our saxophone quartet, Mr. Evan Farley, class of 13, Mr. Richard Nichols, 13, Mr. DeAndre Bell, class of 13, and Mr. Jonathan Middlebrooks, under the guidance of our band director, Mr. Blake Gaines.
Beautiful job by the saxophone quartet. It is with great honor to introduce to you our speaker for today, Dr. Ron Kennedy Bailey. Ron Kennedy Bailey is the current president of the National Medical Association. Dr. Bailey has a 16-year history of leadership within the NMA. Currently, he is the associate professor and chairman of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavior Studies at Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. He is an adjunct professor at psychiatry at the Medical School of Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. Dr. Bailey is the executive director of the Lloyd C. Elam Mental Health Center since April 2008. He is the principal investigator for the HIV, COPE, PRIDE, the Treatment Access Project #2 for the Homeless Adult Continuum Care Grant, Sister Program, Rainbow Unit Grant, Adolescent and Family Treatment Program, Adolescent Day Treatment Grant, Substance Abuse Initiative Grant, and many others. Grants under his leadership have reached over $3 million in 2012. A native of Beaumont, Texas, Dr. Bailey attended Herbert High School, where he graduated magna cum laude. He then went on to Morehouse College, graduating cum laude in 1986. At Morehouse, he was the president of the Health Career Society and was on the basketball team from 1982 to 1986. In high school and in college, he was the captain of the varsity basketball team. From there, he proceeded to medical school at the University of Texas. He was the president of the Student National Medical Association from 1987 to 1988. From medical school, he went on to do his residency in general psychiatry at the University of Texas in Houston from 1990 to 1993. Dr. Bailey is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and a member of the Sigma Pi Phi fraternity since 2011. Dr. Bailey is married to the wonderful Miss Theresa Bailey, who is a clinical psychologist, and they had 3 lovely children, Candace, Ebony, and Ron Mitchell. I introduce to you Dr. Ron Kennedy Bailey.
Well, thank you so very much for having me today at my alma mater at Morehouse College. It is obviously an honor. It fills me with great pride to serve as the 2012 Fall Homecoming Crown keynote lecturer. But let me begin by saying just what tremendous pride and joy it really instills in me to look at all of the outstanding young faces here. I mean, the talent that you show, the work that you're putting in athletics and in music and many other areas. I think that really invigorates persons like myself to continue to try to really work hard and do as best we can. You really are our future. In many regards, much of your work and your effort really stimulates our present. So I want to thank you very much for having me. Good morning. Absolutely. And the President, Robert Franklin, I certainly thank you again for all your leadership in the years that you've been our president here at Morehouse College. To the Board of Trustees, administration, faculty, students, staff, and most importantly for me, my wonderful brothers in the class of 1986, several of whom have actually come here today, and I certainly thank you for your attendance. I am the president of the National Medical Association and very proud to be the 113th president in our 117th year. The NMA, founded in 1895, really represent the interests and the needs of all of us. A mere 3 decades after the ending of slavery, with the sign of the Emancipation Proclamation, African-American doctors are really working very diligently to really put together a network and a collaboration, I think, of their efforts and a network of their activities to really put together, I think, a process where African-American patients really across this country can receive high-quality care. I represent now the 37,000 practicing African-American doctors in our country. Of the slightly over 900,000 doctors in the country, we represent about 3% of the medical workforce. So much of our effort, I think, in many regards, is not only about effort and clinical care and research, but also about pipeline issues and networking. We want to encourage young persons like yourselves to consider professions in the healthcare areas, whether you choose medicine or physical therapy, occupational therapy, or nursing. be a PA or assistant assistant, we need you in our area to help, I think, in many regards, take care of our society here going forward. It's also an honor today to have opportunity to really stand, I think, in the footsteps of giants. When I was here, persons like Tom Blocker helped me get through freshman biology. If that doesn't happen in 1982, I don't get to be the president of the NMA in 2012. Dr. Blocker's gone from us today, but his memory will always live very strongly in myself and I think my classmates who always appreciate what he did individually, but really what the entire group of faculty and leadership here at Morehouse College represented for us then and still do today. Persons who put their efforts and energies on the line to improve, I think, the quality of their lives for many of us. There are other great physician administrative leaders that have come out, I think, of Morehouse College. Persons like past HHS Secretary Louis Sullivan, our own sixth president of Meharry Medical School, PhD, MD, Dr. David Satcher. Those individuals, I think, who have really held a beacon of light very high and really challenged us, I think, to grow tall enough, many would argue, to be able to meet those concerns. I'm fortunate now to be around a variety of other doctors, some from Morehouse and some other places, persons who I think also make these sacrifices, really burn the midnight oil, really put in a great deal of effort to try to ensure that the quality of health care for African Americans continues to grow strongly. But I'm here today to talk about health care, and most particularly issues regarding health care reform. The National Medical Association is very proud to have supported in 2006 when it was first being discussed, when a new state senator from Illinois was running for president, 2008 when then candidate Barack Obama won the presidency of the U.S. In a big election, 2010, March 23rd, when this law passed. This Patient Protection Affordable Care Act means a lot to us in NMA, and I'm here today to tell you why it does and should mean a lot to you. It was really the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, a Morehouse brother, who said in 1966 speech to the Medical Committee on Human Rights that of all forms of inequality, injustice in health care is the most shocking and inhumane. I've always believed that, and I always believed that there really should not be injustices, there should not be disparities, there should not be stigma. These are all issues that we as professionals must take as our challenge to end, because in the long run, they create more morbidity or disease and unwarranted disease and early mortality or earlier death and unnecessary death for all persons of all backgrounds. So among these issues during this NMA presidency, we're going to address concerns regarding reform, because we've really gotten to a point where the system we had in the past was not working very, very well for us. It had become too expensive and too costly and inequitable or unfair. All challenges, I think, for us to address. This really meets our mission in NMA, which is to advance the art and science of medicine for people of African descent, but really for all persons through education, advocacy, and the formulation of effective and utility-based health policy. We're here to promote health and wellness, eliminate disparities, and sustain physician viability. That's the issue regarding getting many of you to become physicians and be successful in your effort. Although we focus primarily on health issues related to African Americans, our real issue has been we take care of poor people, the underserved. I enjoy hearing the comments about the grants that I've been involved in that really represents my entire career. Now we have $3 million in grants, but we've spent about 20 years really trying to develop a process and a matrix and a network to provide funding from state and private and federal sources to meet the needs of persons who often can't pay for those needs on their own, but who need health care in a quality fashion, I think many would argue, as well as all. This, I think, really leads to the central concern of where we are in health care, that for myself as an individual, I believe that health care is and should be and should remain a right for every American. Irrespective of race or ethnicity, gender or age or background, persons need access to quality, comprehensive, basic, affordable health care in order to have level the playing field and have a good opportunity to succeed in society many would argue that we're involved in. Therefore, the NMA emphatically supports the Affordable Care Act. Again, it was imperative that the government reform what we were doing because it really wasn't working very, very well. And I want to give you a basic example of what my life has been like as a 22-year practicing physician in a world without quality health care for 1 in 6 Americans, very often about 50 million Americans overall. Back then, for example, a woman could come into my office, be she African American or otherwise, with her child, maybe a young boy like many of you may have been a decade or so ago. When she walked in, I knew that she had a 1 in 5 chance of not having health insurance. What did that really mean? It meant that although she may be indigent, and poor without insurance, she may really still work. Because remember, 4 out of 5 persons of the 50 million Americans who don't have health insurance work. These are working, poor persons without health insurance who are then unfortunately forced to go through an unfortunate circumstance of going to emergency rooms rather than getting preventative care, not having access to early care, and having to kind of wait until diseases progress. Very often in those settings, the outcomes are worse, and the early mortality or earlier death very often is unwarranted, may still occur. What really happens, though? What really happens is those persons don't get screening. PSA for prostate cancer, mammograms for breast cancer, hemoglobin A1C to rule out early forms of diabetes. Simply getting your blood pressure checked twice a year is one of the most important things that can happen to you in the life of you or your family, your mother, your father, your grandparents, to prevent the risk of congestive heart failure that can lead to heart attacks and strokes, the #1 killers in all individuals, but particularly bad, unfortunate killers in our community. So what I want you today is visualize this young woman. She could be your mother, your sister, your cousin, friend, or the like, and visualize her young son, because my brothers, that could be you or some other potential Morehouse brother. Where did these numbers come from? Well, it came out of this really bad metric over a long period of time. Our system evolved this way. We didn't start off this way, but when we moved toward a model where people got their health insurance, people got health care because they had health insurance, and then they got health insurance because they had a job. We have an employer-based system. It created some basic metrics that just didn't work. Where if you don't work, you don't have insurance. People over age 65 don't generally work, you retire. If for some reason you're disabled and you don't work, you may not have insurance. For some reason, other individuals who are children who don't work don't have health insurance. So these large components of our society, very often disproportionately those who are poor, those who may be ethnic minorities, like African Americans and the like, didn't have health insurance, and then this ball started rolling in a negative direction that was adverse, many would argue, to many. What are the consequences directly of being uninsured? Those are the people who are most likely to miss preventive and routine care. It is tragic, I mean tragic in your life, to be a physician and try to take care of someone who you know, had you seen them earlier, you could have done so much more for them. One of my most poignant experiences was as an intern in internal medicine at the LBJ Hospital, the county hospital in Houston. Not once but twice, I delivered somebody in a car parking lot outside the hospital who hadn't got any prenatal care, didn't have their blood pressure checked, the baby hadn't been ultrasound and looked and sure that the baby was going to be normal, and here I am out with a nurse running out to a parking lot because at the last moment somebody decided we got to rush you to a hospital. I'm here to say hospitals work and we can do a great job. We can do so much of a better job with early care. Avoiding and missing prenatal care is a key component of why our systems and our circumstances have been bad. That'll go away with a good quality system like the new Affordable Care Act. So what is the Affordable Care Act? Signed into law March 23, 2010 by President Barack Obama, it provides access to care for maybe those 30+ million additional Americans who didn't have care or access before. Makes care more affordable with tax credits for small businesses. In NMA, one thing we're proud of is we take care of people very often who can't take care of themselves. Our physician group that historically has been found, they have one of the largest percentages of our doctor members who are in small solo individual practices, so the tax breaks help them, but particularly take care of patients very often who are uninsured. Our doctors, like the ACA, they now will be able to be paid for and supported by those services. In addition, the vehicle to provide that is via Medicaid expansion. Remember, the federal government pays for Medicare, this big federal system that pays for you once you get past age 65. Your grandmother, your grandfather may be on Medicare now, and I'm sure they believe in it and they like it very, very much. But the federal government also pays for 90% of the dollars in Medicaid, which generally pays for the poor and the indigent. And most importantly, when persons get older and they go to nursing homes, Medicaid dollars support that concern. These are issues that befuddle your relatives and your cousins and grandparents now. These are issues that are likely to befuddle all of us at some point in time. The expansion of Medicaid should be supported by all states, including southern states like Georgia, where I stand today, and Tennessee, where I work. What are the benefits, particularly, of the Affordable Care Act? Well, let's get back to that individual, that young woman that we spoke of earlier. Now, after the act has passed, when she comes to my office, there may be a very different dynamic, a very different matrix that we may employ. My worries about her are less now because she has a safety net because she has health insurance. She probably doesn't have to be afraid by not having health insurance. She now has the flexibility and control to move physically to another location or to another job, and because of portability, her health care will follow her. With her now, she's more likely to go for screenings early on for these common illnesses, because many of those screenings, as I mentioned earlier, are free. With emphasis on outcomes and more money for research and innovation. One of the great things about the health care bill is that up to recently, in the last couple of years, most doctors in the country took advantage of a $44,000 payment that you should know about that was given to doctors by the federal government to upgrade their equipment. Better innovation, the use of the electronic medical record. Patients in the VA system could go into a hospital in Florida or Arizona, Seattle, Washington, or Idaho, and whatever doctor was seeing them would know everything about them from the past, what meds they'd been on, what decisions had been made, what their diagnosis had been, what had worked, but yet what had not worked. That should be a consideration that's, I think, available to all Americans. Under this system, with a qualified EMR, electronic medical record, because of innovation, that's likely, many would argue, to occur. In addition, what about that young lady's son? If he had a pre-existing illness like sickle cell anemia, very high rates in the black community, or asthma, or some other kind of concern, he at some point later in his life could be denied health care because of a pre-existing illness. That also will go away under the new plan. So this hard-working lady, maybe she's made many sacrifices in her life, maybe she's made good choices, she should not be victimized by a system that works against her because of poverty or indigency. The system should work for her to help provide a good safety net for good quality care and a chance for her and her son to move forward with good health care in their life. So these benefits, again, covering pre-existing illnesses, allowing young adults like my 22-year-old daughter, who's a graduate student at USC in California, to stay on their parents' health insurance plan while they go on for grad school and further their careers. Giving patients access to these recommended and necessary preventive services and ensuring that all children have access to care, as well as lowering overall medication cost by having more people in the system and driving down the indirect cost. What do my NMA doctors think about this? We think that it's good that patients have insurance. We want them to come. It also avoids the two-tiered system, because the cost now and the payment for Medicaid payments now are likely to be similar to Medicare payments. In the past, it was really bad. Some doctors took patients who had no money or Medicaid on certain days of the week, and patients with private insurance or Medicare or better payer on other days of the week. A two-tier system, unfortunate, bias-based, discrimination-laden, one likely to lead to healthcare disparities. The same disparities that unfortunately affected many in our community, especially the black community, many would argue, for a long period of time. All these issues, I think we would argue, are key. Now, there are arguments against the Affordable Care Act. Let me not imply that we all support it, that all support it. The problem, the biggest one, has been this issue arguing against the individual mandate. And the mandate, of course, requires some payment, about $100 to $700 per year, for individuals who don't have insurance or generally don't pay into the system. We support the idea in NMA, because we think that if everybody pays into the system, everybody's likely to get better overall quality care. Everyone may not get high-level Rolls-Royce care, the best possible, most expensive thing you can get, but everybody needs to get basic, comprehensive, affordable care, prevention, basic services, moderate hospitalization when you need it. These are the things that will increase the likelihood that we won't have high infant mortality rates. These individual concerns or statistics that are biased laden and lead to disparities that are better for some groups than others. All concerns that we think are likely to be addressed in the new act. The act is in place. Many would argue it's working. It's providing better opportunities, many would say, for a variety of persons. I see the football team sitting in front of me. Somebody mentioned earlier how you volunteer, and I went to your game last year in Kentucky State when you were in outside of Lexington, Kentucky, Frankfort, Kentucky. The reality is I want to ensure, and your parents want to ensure, that quality care is there for you were an injury to occur. And that could be football or basketball, like I played when I was here many years ago. So I want you to take full advantage of this act by being educated and informed and to know about it. But I also want you, in the words of my college roommate, B.K. Edmond, to take personal responsibility and accountability for your own actions. I'd be remiss if, as a 48-year African-American man, a Morehouse graduate of '86, if I didn't say to you how frightening it is very often to me to recognize the difficulty of the lives that you guys may live and at the potential life that my 16-year-old son may have to go into. The risks are high, so we need you to live a moderate life and a balanced life. Eat regularly and sleep well. Drink more water. Avoid high fructose, high sugary drinks. Avoid the sugars and salts and all of the bad items of diet that are adverse to you. And most importantly, as a psychiatrist, avoid violence everywhere you can. It's scary and frightening to think that with all the effort you put in to be successful in all the things you do, from the athletes who are in front of us, to the guys that played the good music here in front of me earlier, to all of the classwork that you're doing, you're building an enterprise, an opportunity to provide a network of talent and a skill set that's second to none. Don't let that be wasted in a short period of time due to violence. Avoid violence at all costs. I'd also argue that this is the case for those who are considering that the basic health care plan makes recommendations for all the things that we do. Prevention in health care is a good microcosm of the analogy macrocosmically of how you live your life. Important things I think for us to consider as one moves toward trying to move forward. As the 113th president of the NMA, which as I mentioned is our 117th year, I'm confident that eventually many people will support this Affordable Care Act. I think that it acknowledges the consideration that there should be a level playing field for everybody. You can't function in a competitive society in a challenge-based, competition orientation concern in business or in education if your basic health care is not in order. Those who may be opposed to it may have had a variety of reasons. If education is the issue, it's our job to kind of talk about it and set the record straight. We in the NMA are here to advocate for you, to advocate for our patients. We're very proud of the fact that this is not new to us. This is who we've always been. Again, we started in 1895, but we were the first medical group in 1965 to support the Medicare bill. In fact, it was such an important issue in 65, 4.5 decades ago, that then sitting president Lyndon Johnson came to our national meeting of the NMA in Houston, Texas, to acknowledge his support for us as we stood with him in pushing for Medicare. Imagine nowadays how many people are supportive of Medicare and how many would argue against you taking away their Medicare. We believe the same issue will occur in some short period of time with the issue of the Affordable Care Act. Support the Affordable Care Act. In closing, I am very proud to be here today. Thankful that my family came. My daughter, I hope, will be going to Spelman next year. Thank you. Some of my line brothers are here in front and behind me. I'm a brother that's had a lot of support in my life, owe a lot to many people. Recognize that in your own lives. Use the value and opportunity of mentorship that's here, I think, in abundance at a place like Morehouse College to grow and allow yourself to, in the words of how Howard Thurman said it, hold this crown above your head very high, the school does, and challenges you to grow. And I mean to grow not just physically and intellectually, but culturally and spiritually, morally, and in all other ways you can to be the best that you can be. That's what's good about Morehouse College. And to me, that's what was better about Morehouse College than any of the 6 universities that I've actually worked in. I would end simply by saying that these are issues that are important to me. I hope I don't speak too loud when I talk about them. But I absolutely am a person who believes in advocacy, that one should advocate for and support and use all your resources and the volume of your voice and the energy of your spirit to make things happen for the betterment of yourself and your family and others. And I challenge you to do the same. I think you should relentlessly pursue your goals until you succeed, period. My charge to all of you here today is to go out and pick a cause and advocate for it. Healthcare is mine. It may be yours too. But find something that matters and go and try to stand high enough to reach a goal that really is higher, many would argue, than all of us. Fight for that cause and advocate. Try to solve a problem or lift a burden for others. Try to offer a comfort or propose a solution. You may be the one with the best idea to support an answer that all of us really need. You never know how far those concerns may go, but in the long run, that you've given your best and increased the likelihood, I think, of improving the lives of others may be key. So I end simply by saying thank you very much for having me today. Very proud to be the crown speaker. Very excited, I think, to be back on the campus of Morehouse College. Happy homecoming. God bless Morehouse College.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey, for those remarks. At this time, we will have the City of Atlanta presentations by Class of '86 member, Mr. Adam L. Smith.
Good morning. This was always a festive time for me when we were students here at Morehouse years ago. And it's hard to believe that I can say years ago, but it's been years ago. But Dr. Franklin, platform participants. I see Dr. and Mrs. Massey, good to see you, congratulations. Board of Trustees, Class of 86, I see members of the Class of 86, good to see y'all. Alpha Phi Alpha, all my line brothers who are here. I am delighted to be here on behalf of the City of Atlanta, representing over 7,000 employees, representing 15 different council members, 2 of whom happen to be graduates of this illustrious institution, and representing my boss, the mayor, who happens to be a Howard grad, but he's still my boss, Mayor Kasim Reed, a good friend of mine. I am delighted to be here on behalf of the City of Atlanta and celebrating Homecoming 2012. We are delighted to be here to support this incredible football team. I follow the football team wherever you go. Tuskegee, sorry we lost, but I've been there with you all the way. And so I know you'll do well this Saturday. But this is a great time for all of us alumni to be here because we will begin our partying this evening and having a good time. With that said, now you all have to study, but we've paid our dues, so we're ready to party. But on behalf of the City of Atlanta, I'd like to make just a small presentation to my line brother, and I'm going to ask him to come forward, Dr. Bailey, and Dr. Franklin, and Mr. Goodgame as well. Just a little bit about Dr. Bailey. He was number 10 on my line. There were 10 of us, contumacious 10. And over the past few weeks, you've heard about this talk about Obama and Romney talk about Big Bird. This is the true Big Bird. That was Dr. Bailey's line name, Big Bird. So, so this is Big Bird. So I am extremely proud of him. We have been close throughout the years. We've known each other since we were 18, since we stepped on this campus back in the fall of 1982, and we have been the best friends since that time. So it gives me great honor and pleasure to present this presentation that's normally presented and always presented to outstanding citizens of the City of Atlanta. It's a proclamation which reads, and I won't read all the recitals because it's a laundry list of recognizing all of your accolades, but whereas Dr. Ron K. Bailey, a native of Beaumont, Texas, majored in biology at Morehouse College, where he was a scholar athlete and a member of the Maroon Tiger basketball team from 1983 to 1986, serving as team captain from 1985 to 1986, and was also a 1984 initiate of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And whereas Dr. Bailey is a double board certified in general psychiatry by the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology, and has extensive cases involving, but not limited to, establishing competency to stand trial, competency to be executed, child custody, clinical malpractice, fitness for jury, sexual, violent, predator, insanity, and medical malpractice. And whereas Dr. Bailey was installed as the 113th president of the National Medical Association in July 2012, and is the chairman of the Department of Psychiatry at the Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. And whereas the Atlanta City Council is pleased to recognize Dr. Bailey's stellar career of leadership and outstanding service to the medical field, and especially to the medically underserved, and for his commitment to eliminate and eradicate health care disparities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Caesar Mitchell, who is also a Morehouse grad, president of the Atlanta City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Atlanta, hereby honor the Thomas J. Blocker Society of Health Professionals 2012 Homecoming Crown Forum speaker, Ron Kennedy Bailey, on this 26th day of October 2012, signed by President of the City Council, Caesar Mitchell. Thank you, man.
Quickly, Dr. Bailey, also, our SGA president, Mr. Andre Washington, would also like to present you with a gift.
Just like to say we welcome back home. We appreciate you on behalf of Morehouse College and Institution. We'd like to present you with this gift and say thank you and have a happy homecoming.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, and very briefly before we rise to sing our school fight song and college hymn, thank you, Dr. Bynum, and distinguished men on this platform, to Chairman Robert Davidson and Faye Davidson. I want to acknowledge a very special moment in the history of our great college that occurred today. And I want each of you young gentlemen to cherish and remember that you were present in the chapel on the day when this was acknowledged just after the actual event. First of all, I'd like to ask all of our trustees if you would stand and be recognized. Chairman Davidson, our former chairman, Flash Davis, former chairman Otis Moss Jr., and all of our trustees. Let's acknowledge these gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Today, a very special ceremony occurred in which this college named two beloved and important facilities central to the leadership development mission of Morehouse College. Our very distinguished ninth president, Dr. Walter E. Massey, has been honored by this college with the renaming of the Leadership Center as the Walter E. Massey Leadership Center. Walter, would you stand? And the beloved facility that was in need of a name, the Executive Conference Center, now has a wonderful name. Today, the trustees and a great throng gathered to rename the Executive Conference Center in honor of our former First Lady, Shirley Massey, the Shirley Massey Executive Conference Center. Shirley, please stand. And Shirley, as you remain standing, and Walter, as you stand, would all of the members of the Massey family, the extended family who've traveled from near and far to be here, would you stand and be recognized? Walter and Shirley, it's a thrill to have you back, and we will cherish as we pass that building, those of you who occupy it so often, is the Massey facilities on this campus. Thank you. I want to acknowledge the First Lady of the college, Dr. Cheryl Franklin. Cheryl. Mrs. Yvonne King Gloucester, wife of former President Hugh Gloucester. Dr. June Hops, the spouse of the former Provost John Hops. I mention these names, gentlemen, in particular because you know buildings on this campus named in their honor and the great legacy that these leaders have had in the Morehouse College family. Dr. Bailey, thank you for challenging us today, for urging us, even in a homecoming weekend, to exercise health-conscious practices. I trust that is enough said, gentlemen. But I do take some pride in noting that there are national kudos to this college when it comes to this time of the year as alumni gather from around the nation and the world. We introduced Miss Maroon and White Court, but I want you to know, Jasmine, stand up. Our Miss Maroon and White. was recently voted in a national survey as the homecoming queen of the nation by the National Black College Hall of Fame. So thank you, Jasmine. We celebrate you. You should also know that our SGA president, Andre Washington, was recently voted the premier SGA president of all HBCUs by the National Association of Student Services. Thank you, Brother President. Gentlemen, join us here 1 week from today, the last Crown Forum before the national presidential election. Everyone here will vote or has voted. Vote one time, but everyone must vote. But we will be challenged next Thursday morning by President Emerita of Bennett College, Dr. Julian Malveaux. So I'll be looking for all of you to gather as we prepare and as we focus on this election. To all of our coaches and athletes, we've expressed our gratitude. Coach Freeman and this terrific team, we are so proud of you young men. I go out and watch them in the evening practice. Now, Henry, come on, we're going to sing the fight song. We are the College of Martin Luther King. We believe in nonviolence. But now and then when we take the football gridiron, that is an act of war. And for 60 minutes, we prepare to win. We thank all of you for your presence. Remember that you represent Morehouse College as you move through this homecoming. Be safe, and we look forward to a great weekend of activities. Please rise.
Gentlemen, one quick announcement. Due to the lateness of the hour, we will not scan today, but we will leave here, brothers. We will leave here enthusiastic about an incredible homecoming weekend, great victory for our team. You know we'll do it first, and the pep rally immediately following. Now, may I have your attention, please, gentlemen? I have informed you once before that before there was the Morehouse College hymn, in 1911, Mordecai Johnson left us with our first college fight song called Morehouse College, Bless Her Name, and all of you should know it. This is a day when you come together with alums who know it. You know it. Let's sing it proud. Morehouse College, Morehouse College, Morehouse College, bless her name. Whether in defeat or victory, we are loyal just the same. And we'll cheer for Morehouse College. We'll fight for fame. And we'll sing her praises loud in every land. Morehouse College, bless her name. Now, brothers, if you all will connect arms to our guests, we say thank you and welcome once again to President Massey. Shirley Massey, congratulations. Let's sing our college alma mater, our hymn. Sing it like a victory we want this weekend, brothers. Dear old Morehouse, dear old Morehouse, we have pledged our lives to thee, and will ever, yea, forever, give ourselves in loyalty. True forever, true forever, to old Morehouse may we be, so to bind each son the other into ties more brotherly. Holy
make us steadfast, honest, true, to old Morehouse and her ideals, and in all things that we do. Happy homecoming, everybody. Happy homecoming.